good evening, and welcome to the Make Learning Addictive Show. I am your host, Brian Romero Smith. It is a wonderful Thursday, even though our hearts are still breaking from the recent events with Uvalde, Texas. I am going to ask those that are watching live and those that will be watching on a replay to continue to keep the Uvalde, Texas community in the Uvalde ISD or CISD community in your prayers. I will be highlighting on Twitter ways that you can actually support the community during this trying time. And there'll also be a prayer visual on Friday, on tomorrow. And I'll post that information on Twitter as well, so be sure you look out for that. And if you can participate, I would ask that you would do so. The community is in desperate need of some support right now. With that being said, brought you in tonight to talk about a topic that really caught my eye because it's truly dear to the way that I approach education. I approach teaching. As many of you know, I had the privilege and honor of sitting in different educational seats for 23 years. Now I'm on the dark side of EdTech, which is cool. It gives me a different perspective. But while I was doing the work, doing the gritty work, I was always interested in finding new ways to truly capture the moment of where our students were. I truly believe in building equity within a student, which meaning that you actually touch within their hearts, their souls, their beliefs, their understandings, their lenses, and then you differentiate what you do based on that relationship that you have individually with that student. I know many people couldn't duplicate that, but that's just where I was in education. With that being said, several years ago, I did an Ignite series around how do you make your classroom like Netflix binging, because I had been drawn into Netflix, unfortunately. You know, it had ruined my relationship, with my family because I was on it all the time. I wasn't even showing up to work on time because I was late because I was up at 4 or 5 o'clock trying to finish the series. I'm glad that life is over with for me. However, I understood the addictive nature of binging. And I looked at the psychology behind it, the analytics that they use to encourage a binging cycle. And I was curious to how we can actually do that in the classroom as well. So I created that series. But here we are in 2022, and on March 28th, this wonderful article came across my screen, about students' career interests are changing. Here is why our teaching must change too. Tapping into this idea, well, it's not an idea anymore, the reality that our kids are no longer, when you ask that question, what do you want to be when you grow up? They're not saying I want to be a policeman or a fireman. They're not saying that anymore. They're saying YouTuber, I want to be an influencer, or I want to be famous, right? Those are the things that are popping out of their mouth. And as you can see, we got a special guest that's going to talk about this, and she is the author of this particular article. So please allow me to introduce her real quick. We are speaking with Aisha Douglas today. Aisha is an academic dean in Brooklyn, New York, with 11 years of experience with middle school and high school literature and writing courses, bless her heart. A former Teacher for America Corps member, Aisha is currently at Achievement First, Brooklyn High School, focused on teacher development, curriculum development, and student success. She believes in empowering teachers to bring their authentic experiences and voices to the classroom space, creates an environment that ensures students see that their voices are valued and are a necessary part of controlling the narratives for their communities and for themselves. She's also an EdSurge Voice of Change Writer Fellow. She tackles the need for more radical approaches to building school communities that foster innovation, creativity, and empowerment. Ooh, Lord. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Miss Aisha Douglas. What's up, girl? How you doing? Oh, let's unmute you first. How about that?
Hi.
It is.
Example number one of my tech aversion.
It is all right. We'll speak to those technical challenges later on. For sure. But first of all, I mean, I really love to do check-ins with my guests prior to. So, how are you doing? I know you're out on the East Coast, but what's life like for you right now?
Um, it's intense.
Yeah,
It is intense. This has been a rough week.
yeah,
I think for everybody, quite frankly. We're getting closer to jumping into, standardized tests, our Regents exams. Um, and it's hard because our kids are also seeing and experiencing what's happening in the world right now. They're distracted.
yeah,
Um, Teachers are distracted and exhausted. So, I think we are proud and excited right now that we made it through this year.
yeah.
But there's a heaviness, that we're working through as well. So, you know.
Yeah, well, I thank you for acknowledging that because
Mhm.
though I'm here in Texas and as some people know, Uvalde is works with our company, as a partner.
Mhm.
So it's hit us pretty hard, but the impact is global.
Yeah.
With what is happening just recently back your way in Buffalo, another incident that's really rocked our society. So it's a lot that our kids are taking in, right
Yes.
now, and struggling processing.
Yeah. Absolutely. Um, I don't. As much as this has happened, I think we have yet to develop the coping skills, especially our students. They're processing their own individual, growth and development and struggles, and then to also process what's going on in the world. And they have access to information in a way that we did not have in our high school and childhood experiences. So I don't know that we are necessarily fully prepared and equipped to support them with all of the information that they are absorbing right now. So it's hard.
So I'm glad you said that as well.
Mhm.
So is that okay to admit?
Yeah.
I think that's liberating
Yes.
to be admitted.
Yes. Um, I think at times we're expected to be the holders of all of the knowledge. Um, we, as adults, are supposed to know all of the things. I think it is liberating to admit to our students and have those conversations as well. Like, we don't have the answers. I'm also struggling. This has built a connection with our students that we didn't really have before. It's unfortunate that it's being built this way, but it's an opportunity, I think, to connect in a way that we haven't been able to before.
Yeah. You said something though that is key. That's going to bring me
Mhm.
to your article real quick. You said we are expected to be the holders of all the knowledge.
Mhm.
I'm going to push back just a tad bit because I think that is one of the things that gets in our way.
Mm.
Is we believe that we are the holder of all the knowledge.
Mhm.
And in another one of my talks, I was saying, be honest with you, today's teacher is not you that's in front of the classroom. It's Google and YouTube.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Yes.
For sure.
You know, and now TikTok.
Whew.
Yeah, I see. I saw the facial expression, and I felt that in your article.
Yes.
I felt that in your article for sure.
Yeah.
So tell me a
Yeah.
little bit about you writing this article and where
Mhm.
where this came from in the first place. What's the vision behind it?
Yeah, we talked a little bit about this before, we went live, but I think at the beginning of the year, we knew that it would be unusual. We weren't sure what we were coming back to. And for most of the beginning of the year, the biggest fight that I was having with our students were the cell phones. Put the cell phone in your backpack, put the cell phone in your locker. And it just wasn't happening. And the further we got into the school year, I was like, I'm not winning this fight. I'm not going to win this fight. Um, and the more that I observed them, I became more and more curious
Uh-huh.
about where it could go if I can't get them to put the phone down. So it got me thinking about my resistance to uh, their, I don't want to say obsession, but their interest in these platforms. I didn't want to fight anymore. It's like, this is such an opportunity for creativity and to infuse some excitement into our classrooms and show relevance. I think a lot of what we're doing right now, our students are like, I don't see how this, I don't see what I'm supposed to do with this. So um, it felt like an opportunity, and I wanted to write about it because I also wanted to admit that I'm not 100% there, and I don't understand it, and a lot of us don't, and a lot
Uh-huh.
of career teachers, we're not there either, are not there either. So I just wanted to think about it and challenge what we have considered to be like good teaching. So yeah, that's sort of where I decided to go with the article, or why I decided to write it.
So you referenced though
Hmm.
Cultivating Genius on an Equity Framework
Yes.
by Goldie Muhammad.
Hmm.
And you talked a little bit about, helping them ultimately develop agency
Yes.
to build a better world.
Hmm.
Their version of the world is different. I'll repeat the quote
Yeah.
that I mentioned with you.
Hmm.
We have to stop, trying to teach our students, you know, for a future that's based on our past, right?
Yes.
So, when you had this epiphany here,
Hmm.
how did you approach your students?
Hmm.
With, okay, let's go ahead and just bring this in. Let's go ahead and try to include what it is that we're doing in order for us to make a greater impact.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I don't think it's living in our classrooms yet. I think right now we're just trying to learn. And a lot of what I'm doing is trying to learn from them. Like, what is it that draws you to this platform? What are you doing? How do you make these dance? Just watching them make them, I was like, this is amazing. Like, how did you guys learn how to do it? And they're like,
Uh-huh.
well, we just kind of learned. And here I am trying to find, a workshop to attend. So
Right.
it's just, I've just been spending a lot of time trying to learn and understand how it works, why it's so appealing to them, and see how the skills that they're using to make these videos, to do all of these things, how they can also live. And they do. I was pleasantly surprised. I'm like, oh, we can make this work.
Yeah.
So I think I'm just learning and trying to get comfortable with it. Um, so I think we're at that stage, the exploration stage for
Okay.
right now. Yeah.
So where is your comfort level right now on a scale of 1 to 5? Love it.
I'll tell you right now, I just spent about 15 minutes trying to post a story on my Instagram.
Instagram.
So I'm gonna say I'm like at a 2, you know?
Okay. Okay.
I got
So
it up there, but it took a while.
that means that you and I are probably close in age then.
Hmm.
Actually, I'm probably older than you, so we don't want to tell nobody though. But the generation where our parents, struggle with certain social media platforms.
Hmm.
It's come to the time where we, as technology changes, as the
Hmm.
way we communicate changes, as the diversity within social media changes,
Hmm.
we find ourselves caught, in that same situation our parents were in.
Yes.
How do we, the traditionalists now,
Hmm.
get over, that fact that, okay, I need to move my ego and my pride aside,
Hmm.
to allow, some new learning to take place,
Hmm.
regardless if the learning curve is tough for me.
Yeah.
What would be your advice here?
Um, I think just be willing to fail and to fail in front of your students. um, but I think it's also just uh, being okay with giving up control and allowing them to lead, and allowing them to the agency that you mentioned earlier on, right? Develop that independence and be able to see the role that they play in their classroom. Right? Like you said, we are not the holders of all of the knowledge. And we have to be honest with them about that and be willing to work with them and collaborate with them. I think very often it's, teacher centered. So just moving away and being willing to release a little bit. And it's hard. It's so hard.
Yes. Yes.
We are from a chalk and talk time, right? Your teachers stood at the front and wrote things on the board and you copied it into a notebook. And so many classrooms are still that way. And their kids are just checking out. They're not interested. And that's okay, because it doesn't reflect their world. So we got to meet them where they are.
Oh my goodness! Yeah. I mean, you're speaking my language. This is why I love it. The article. But the sad part is, and I say this is the same conversation.
Yes.
That we've been having, for years, and we're still struggling to. I mean, it actually is a reflection of the way our society is. It's about power, power and control in the end. And our kids now have found another way.
Yep.
They have found another way, and it is frustrating the dynamics or the relationship, the synergy that's in the classroom is now lacking.
Yes.
Because they found another way and they don't need us, and we're still trying to force them to do it our way.
Yes. Yeah. And you know what? There are a lot of times when their way is better. I think
oh my god. Absolutely.
Better. And they know this. So they're like, okay, Miss Douglas, but let me show you another way to do this. I'm like, oh, think of that. Show me how you did that. That's my go-to face. Show me how you did that. Show me how you did that. So yeah, it's a different time.
Well, let me ask you this then, though. How did this improve the relationships in your classroom coming to this point?
I would say yes, because there's less tension around the phones and the technology, right? Because the traditional classroom is very much, you are in here to learn, you are in here to read this novel, you are in here to write this paragraph. And just letting go of that a bit, and watching them do these really cool things, it does improve relationships, because then they see that you're willing to be open to what interests them. And that's really all they want, right? I think a lot of the time.
You're correct. Yeah. You're absolutely correct. And it's amazing how a little humility from us goes a long way in the classroom.
Yes.
My goodness. Okay.
Yes.
So TikTok.
Oh boy.
Okay, so I did mention to you earlier, your article sparked an idea in me as well. I'm not on TikTok.
Me either.
I struggle sometimes, from a mental wellness standpoint, with the time that is spent, what we call doom scrolling on TikTok. And being a parent, we have to be mindful of how much time our children are spending in this space.
Yes.
But that's also a tricky conversation as a teacher with your students. How do you navigate knowing what you know, about the impact that this could have, and approaching a child who doesn't necessarily see it nor wants to see it because of where they are, in their maturation process.
Right.
So how do you navigate that piece?
The thing I've been thinking a lot about is how we help our students to become responsible consumers of information, and figure out how to sort of filter through the noise, or how to process what they are seeing. The fact of the matter is, I don't think we can control that, right? We can't. So I think where teachers in the classroom comes into place, like we're teaching critical thinking skills, we're teaching all these things. Let's teach them how to be curious in a way that even if they're scrolling, right, for extended periods of time, they're learning as they go.
Yeah.
They're learning how to determine if something that they're reading is a little sketchy. Maybe I need to do a little bit more research on this. This video said this, but this doesn't sound right. I'm going to go over here and look at this other video and get another perspective. So I don't think it's a matter of completely shielding them. We once again have to meet them where they're at and give them strategies to navigate and process in a way that's a little healthier, I think, than just the scrolling for, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I know I'm looking for recipes and parenting advice, but I'm not sure what they're looking for.
There's no manual for this. So
there's not.
So that's my TikTok idea. I'm gonna start a channel saying there's no manual for this.
There's no manual.
and talk about those particular issues because you said something earlier as well. Their way may be better. And just tell a quick story. I have an 18-year-old son. I mean, I know that's enough said for a lot of folks.
No more context needed.
Right. But what I love about him is his nonchalant approach to what we fear in life. Because of the mistakes we've made, the entanglements we have found ourselves in, we're constantly trying to preach and teach to our kids to avoid them from making those mistakes. Because the reality is we are a cheat code, right? If I tell you there's a pothole that I just ran into down the street and you go drive down the same direction, you the fool, for not listening. However, he may have found a way to even go in that same direction to avoid that pothole altogether. Right? Or he could be going that direction to solve a problem. I don't know, but I'm so stuck on him following my directions or doing it my way that it hinders, the encouragement that I need to be giving him to continue to be curious, to continue to take risk, as long as they're healthy risk, right?
Yes.
So I mean, so this is all good. So all this article brought up all of these conversations. In me. So you have young kids though.
I do. My daughter is about to be 11. My son is about to be 6. Okay. And they're not on social media. I'm not ready. I'm learning how to find that healthy balance for them. But they are into gaming, and my daughter and my son, they have this app where they do like interior design, and they like have to figure out how the furniture fits and all of these things. And I'm like, oh, that's math. You're doing math. But also, the Roblox and the Minecraft, and I'm watching them build these worlds, and I'm like, your imagination, like this is amazing. So, but I'm cautious. And I'm cautious partially because I don't entirely understand and know how to navigate it. So I'm also learning from them in their very young ages. I'm learning a lot about how it applies to their world, and they're far ahead of where I was at 6 and 11 for sure.
Yeah. Well, they have access to much more than we had, and the exposure that they have is tremendous. My kids are the same way. We went through the roadblock phase. I think we may be getting out of it. Maybe, I don't know.
I hope.
But I will offer this suggestion. To you, get on there and play with them. That's tough because we don't quite understand. One, it don't make any sense to us. Running around through walls and
I just don't get it. Not yet.
But you know what? I stopped playing video games with my kids because they were beating me. I couldn't keep up with them, right? So while I'm trying to, because one, as an educator,
Mm-hmm.
we think we know everything,
Uh-huh.
so we're strategizing,
Yes.
we formulating a plan of how, and
Mm-hmm.
they're just going at it,
Just going. Yeah.
right? And
Yep.
it's frustrating because I don't like to lose, but I realize that my ego, I'm going back to this humility thing,
Mm-hmm.
my
Yes.
ego and my pride, which a lot of us sages on the stage,
Mm-hmm.
that's really the root of our problem,
Yes.
you know.
Yes.
I had to give that up and
Mm-hmm.
learn from them. Now, I still don't get it. I don't, but they appreciate the fact that I'm trying and that they
Trying.
get to teach me something,
Mm-hmm.
just like you're doing in the classroom. And
Yes.
I promise you, it has strengthened our relationship.
Yeah.
But it also makes it tough because then I do have to set limits,
Yes.
right? Because the
Mm-hmm.
other part of that, the kids don't need us. Google and YouTube are the teachers.
Right.
The other part of that is they still need help interpreting the information that they
Yes.
see, and that's where we
Yes.
we come in. And I think that
Mm-hmm.
your article is a perfect, impetus for us to jump off from, to change the way we think about teaching
Yes.
in the classroom.
Yeah. I, you know, it's a good point that you bring up about how they are, like what they're consuming, and what is it they're learning, or getting to know through YouTube and TikTok and these different channels. And um, I learned a lot during quarantine, and during the sort of height of the pandemic. I would reach out to old students of mine just to check in on them, and they'd be like, Miss Douglas, and there would be all of these conspiracy theories. I heard that there's a chip, and there's this, and there's that. And I'm like, well, where did you hear this? Like, where did you get this information? It's like this guy on YouTube.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, well, who, or this, this girl on TikTok. And I'm like, well, who are they? Where did they get their information? And silence. Oh, well, I don't actually know. Well,
Uh-huh.
who is this person? Like, where did they come from? What makes them the expert? What makes you trust so deeply in the information that they are giving you? And I think it's because you know, the development of the skills to be able to challenge and to pause and say, I don't know about this. I think I'm going to look a little further. I think they're still developing that, because as much as it is new for us, I think things are advancing so quickly that a lot of it is still new to them
Yeah.
as they try to catch up and keep up.
Yeah.
So I do think a lot about the information that they are receiving, and like, how can we help in the classroom to get them set up to not be bamboozled, right?
Uh-huh.
Like,
Uh-huh.
to question the information that they're receiving, and to question the people who are giving them this information, and push back and engage in dialogues with people who have differing ideas. And the cool thing about things like TikTok and Instagram is that they can engage with so many different people and viewpoints and ideas. And I'm from Trinidad originally, and we're on a little island. And I remember back in the days of ICQ and MySpace, I was really scared to like connect to people. Like, oh my gosh, like, I don't know where you are. And they're not afraid.
Yeah.
You
No
spoke
fear.
about your son's nonchalance, and they definitely, I think that's the vibe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's some, as adults, we do see we struggle with the lack of fear,
Mm. Yes.
because fear is healthy, to be honest with you.
Yes.
I try to tell my kids that you don't look at it as something to be, deadly afraid of, but use it
Mm-hmm.
as, think of fear as reverence,
Mm.
to something that's a little bit larger or looming or whatever the case is. Be cautious with
Yes.
it. You don't have to be
Mm-hmm.
deathly afraid of it, but
Right.
you know, look at it in reverence.
Mm.
Okay, thank you for bringing that piece up. But I want to go to this last piece here though,
Mm-hmm.
um, because you also reference the ability to have a platform to share,
Yes.
a platform to share, and
Mm-hmm.
by allowing our students to do so, we flood the space with with different thoughts, where
Yes.
we can get some diversity and some inclusion, and celebrate that, within this particular space. Give
Yes.
us a little glimpse of, your thought process when you put that in your article as well.
Um, I was thinking a lot about the fact that our kids don't all learn the same.
Hmm.
And the traditional approach comes from a place of that assumption, right?
Okay.
Everyone can write this paragraph. If we have a student who needs additional support, has a learning disability, well, instead of 8 sentences, you write 4, right? Like that's the idea of modifying and
Right.
differentiating.
Right.
Do less.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
what I was thinking about was these are also such amazing ways to reach diverse learners, or to get into the diversity of the way that our students learn. So, I have students who really struggle with writing, but when we have open discussions, I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, so exciting. And their ideas are so like, it just shows how deeply they're thinking about the things that we're talking about. And it really is unfortunate that if they can't write that formal paragraph and the
Hmm.
structure that we wanted,
Hmm.
their ideas don't get out there, and they
Hmm.
don't think that their voices are valid because they can't write that paragraph the way that everybody else. So with these platforms, it gives us an opportunity to have our students show their learning in different ways, so our students who maybe can't access in one way can do it in another.
Yes.
We've been trying podcasts with our 10th graders,
Love it.
um, and we were we were like, okay, we don't know what quality we're going to get back here, but we're going to
It
try this
doesn't
out.
matter.
The interviews were so good. We didn't even say like you have to interview someone, right? Like they got
Mhm.
together and did like small discussions with each other. They invited family members into
Love
the
it.
discussions, and we were we were like, oh, we didn't even think of those possibilities, right? But they took it and they ran with it
That's it.
because they listen to podcasts also.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, so it just was amazing to hear them engage in discussions with each other. And I was like, there was such a demonstration of their learning that I would not have gotten from a 5 paragraph
Otherwise.
essay, right?
Yes.
So the diversity, not just of perspectives and ideas, but also the diversity of ways to show their thinking and their learning, I think just opens up a door that I don't think we opened before, at least in
Yeah.
my context, right?
Hmm.
So that's kind of what I was thinking about when I included that. Just like,
Love
wow,
it.
there's so many different ways to show what you're learning.
Love it. And educators, let me flip that for you, because what it allowed me to do when I was doing this in the classroom was, one, helped me find a healthy balance in
Hmm.
my own life, because I was no longer taking these 3 to 5 page papers
Whew.
home and grading them.
Oh
I
my
was indulging
gosh.
myself in my own kids' voices,
Yes.
hearing from their perspective, using their
Hmm.
unique lenses and talents. And it brought so much joy to me.
Hmm.
It changed the way I taught, for one, but it
Hmm.
also changed the way I assessed.
Yes. Yes.
This was meaningful to them,
Hmm.
and they knew how to apply this knowledge in their own medium
Yeah.
once they had the opportunity to do so. So
Yeah.
if you want this to be easier for you, teachers, you might want to consider this.
Consider it. Definitely. The days of mountains of paper on the living room floor. We don't have to live that life
Yes.
anymore. We
No.
don't.
No.
Um, I was speaking with our director of writing curriculum, and we were talking about feedback
Mm.
cycles,
That's a
and
whole nother
given
conversation right there.
um, giving written feedback on papers and giving them back to the students. And I'm like, they're not about to go home and apply this feedback and write another, 5 paragraph version of this. And it's thinking about like, okay, but if you do a podcast or you do a TikTok where you highlight your idea, then I can engage in a discussion with you and push your thinking. And that's
Absolutely.
way more exciting than me writing, you know,
Yeah.
add a comma here to a formal essay. And that's not to say, I mentioned, I think some people see it as like the decline of intellectualism. It's not the decline of intellectualism. It's us allowing our students to show and develop intellect in a very different way.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that they're less smart
Yeah.
or what they're doing is less important. It just doesn't look the way that we're used to it looking.
And that's okay.
And that's okay.
And that's okay.
It's
Whew.
okay.
I love it.
We gotta just let go.
Yes, you do. You do.
Yep.
And you said that. You said,
Yeah.
I'm going to quote, needed is a willingness to deviate from what we have accepted as the right way to educate and expand our toolboxes to meaningfully engage our students in the classroom spaces.
Yes.
Our way is no longer the right way.
It's no longer the right way.
Because it's funny how we, in these last 100 and so years, and I say this all the time, that we've gone from the Model T to the Tesla. Our classrooms still look the same.
Right? We're still in a Volvo. Is that what were the like?
The model. We still
The
have a
mom
Model
cars.
T. The Model T.
even older. We are. We
Yes.
really are. We're still driving those gas guzzlers, and it's like, no, give it up.
Because we refuse to let go.
Refuse to let go.
Ladies and gentlemen, when you hoard knowledge and opportunity, the only person you're hurting is yourself.
Yeah, it just is hard. And, I think one of the sort of last thoughts is we also need to think as administrators about the opportunities that we're giving our teachers to learn as well. So many of the professional development opportunities that we give our teachers are aligned to the traditional approaches. And it's also giving educators the chance to see a different way within their professional context as well. So we really need to open up the door for more of a variety of development for teachers. And it's going to excite us, right? We do want to do something different. We're tentative, we're unsure, we're a little scared. But, give us that support. And I guarantee you that we're going to get more and more curious, and we're going to see it like really living in our classrooms in a very different way once our confidence grows. So, we also need to see that change happen as well.
Right. Love it. So you're going to ISTE. You're presenting at ISTE.
I am.
Are you talking about this subject or?
I am not sure. I don't know the direction that we're going to go in. We're actually going to meet with our managing editor for EdSurge very soon and sort of explore the direction that we want to go in. But I think the thread across the other fellows as well was just this idea of things are different and we have to adapt. So I do think this will be part of the conversation now that I'm like talking about it. I'm like, yeah, actually it will be.
Let's go. Okay. All right. So here's the challenge then. We have to create a TikTok challenge for ISTE.
Oh boy.
That you and I lead.
Brian.
Something simple.
Okay.
Something simple.
Okay.
But something that will allow our teachers to be encouraged to get their toes at least a little wet, into the possibilities and the opportunities, because you don't know what could happen.
Right.
We believe that it could be something for the better.
Right.
But you don't know, and we always know that regret is the only thing that doesn't have an answer.
Yep. This is true. This is true. Yeah.
Well, we'll come up with something in the next coming weeks. I want to thank you though for being willing to jump on with me on this evening. It was such a pleasure to meet you.
Yeah,
and talk to you. I always love. That's what a PLN should look like. People like-minded that are really trying to change the landscape of education, but who have a student-centered focus first.
Yes.
Because that's who it's all about in the
end. Yep.
In the end, nothing else matters. Oh, thank you, for coming on.
Thank you for having me. It was wonderful to just talk this out. I'm thinking still about like, oh wait,
Okay,
now I want to
good,
think
good.
about this a little bit. So thank you for that. Thank you for
Good,
that.
good. And ladies and gentlemen, I do thank you for watching us once again. If you're watching us live or watching us on a replay, we would appreciate you sharing it with the others if you're able to gather something from this conversation. I do want to point out that we will be doing a What's Up ISTE, promotion for all our presenters that are coming up. That will be presenting at ISTE. If you want an opportunity to talk about your session prior to everyone hopping on the plane to get down to New Orleans, to Nolans, before you take up on that good food and all this stuff, I'm looking forward to it for sure.
Yes.
However, we would love to amplify your voice and your story. So on Twitter, go ahead and DM me. We'll post this on Twitter later on tonight and throughout the weekend. And if you, like I said, if you want to come on and promote your show, we'll be more than not your show, your session. We will be more than happy to do so. All right. So, any parting words, for our audience?
Let go.
Let go.
Let
That's
go.
that's powerful in itself. Ladies and
Yep.
gentlemen, we thank you for joining us on Making Learning Addictive. We'll see
Thank
you
you.
next time.